You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. But the big story taking place in Washington, D.C. is the Supreme Court hearing for Amy Coney Barrett. Republicans are doing whatever they can to ram this through, even though we are less than 30 days from the election. Of course, it has been going on all day. Even have some folks like Senator Mike Lee, who tested positive for coronavirus, out there testifying, not even wearing a mask. Senator Kamala Harris chose to testify remotely, question remotely, and she challenged the senators as to why they were even holding this hearing in the middle of this pandemic. We're going to get to all that a little bit later. Right now, though, we're joined by Barbara Arnwine. She's the founder and president of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Barbara, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Here we are, 22 days out before Election Day. More than 9 million people in America have already voted. We see massive lines in Georgia, massive lines expected in Texas tomorrow, and Republicans don't care about the president, don't care about what they did in 2016 to Obama with Merrick Garland. They desperately want to get this woman confirmed before the election because they expect to see massive losses, and they know public opinion will be even further against them if they wait.
Absolutely. And what we saw today, Roland, was for a judiciary hearing, I thought there was so much drama, I couldn't believe it. I mean, you had that incredible exchange between White House and Cornyn, where he just went all the way in. I think the Democrats did a good job, Democratic senators, of just repeatedly making sure everybody was aware that the ACA, the Affordable Health Care Act, was at stake here. And that she wasn't just chosen because they said she was first of her class, but because of her conservative views. In fact, all throughout this hearing, I don't know if all your listeners got it, but there were all kinds of code being spoken. When they said, for example, that she was, I loved it when they said that she worked for, that she worked for Lawrence Silverman. And when they talked about her being solidly shaped by Scalia. Those were code words saying she is a conservative to the T, and that she's going to be a rabid conservative. And I really felt that I was surprised, frankly, by her opening statement, that she did not go further in to try to humanize herself, to make herself more acceptable, that it was so bland. It was just total white bread presentation, but I think that's because she's overconfident.
Obviously, look, we see what they are doing. Republicans want to get this done. They know full well they are behind in a number of states right now. They could lose upwards of 10 Senate seats, and that if they wait until after the election, they know public sentiment will be further against him. The polls already show that most Americans, a supermajority of Americans, say this hearing should not be taking place until after a new president is elected.
Absolutely. And they really aren't feeling her. I mean, every time people read about her, learn more about her, they don't see her as someone they want on that court. They do not see her as Ruth Bader Ginsburg's replacement. No matter how much they try to say woman, 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 no matter how much she talks about, whatever, first she may have been, I think the people just hear something very different. They see this. They don't get it. They're saying we need stimulus help. We need unemployment checks. We need health care. We need more. And we don't need a conservative Supreme Court justice. And so they haven't helped themselves at all. I think that, this hearing has been really fascinating to watch, just how much damage I thought the GOP members did to themselves because they just cannot help themselves. And so they could not help their criticisms of Obamacare, as they called it. They could not help themselves for going in on Senator Harris, showing all kind of misogynoir war all over the place, showing that, they're black woman get in your place kind of, talk. They couldn't help themselves. And I think that the more they do this, if they keep in this vein, all this hearing will be is a big old commercial for these elections. So it is not, going to accomplish what they want. They probably will get her on the court because they have the raw numbers, right? But the public isn't feeling her. 74% more say that they don't care about, they don't like her. They just don't feel her. And I think that that's important because ultimately, when it comes down to it, these are the things that will make a difference in the future as to what happens with this court.
One of the things that obviously we want to also deal with is that the reality is here. Amy Coney Barrett, and I think this is one of the things that we have to keep reminding our people. The reason she was even appointed to the Seventh Circuit is because the Republicans they actually blocked an African-American woman. Henry, let me know if you're able to, let me know if you're able to see this video right here. This is the woman right here, an African-American woman. Barbara, tell our listeners again what happened here with the Seventh Circuit. She was supposed to be the history-making appointee.
They stole the seat by basically not allowing her nomination to proceed. This is what we're looking at. This entire seat that we're talking about that's being filled is the Merrick Garland seat. It is another stolen seat. So we're dealing with thieves here who, are just, determined to use raw power to get the results that they want. They're not thinking about the best person for these jobs. They stole the Obama seat, and now they made up a new, quote, rule talking about, when it's a president of a different party, then we can oppose, even though we said we would never do this kind of opposition before. It's just nothing but contextual ethics. And it's evil, it's ugly, and it really, however, for those of us watching, I want everyone to know that there are real consequences here, because this woman has written a little bit on voting rights. And remember, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was fabulous on voting rights. She not only wrote that incredible dissent in the Shelby versus Holder case in 2013, which destroyed, Section 5's effectiveness. And she also, this April, while sick, wrote an incredible dissent in the RNC versus DNC case. So but this woman went out of her way, and another court case that had nothing to do with the voting rights for people who were had felony convictions in their history, to talk about it and to say that she didn't think any of them should be able to vote, in essence. So we need to really realize who we're looking at. This is an arch conservative. She is going to be really bad on all the issues that we care about. This is not a woman who is ridden with compassion. This is a woman who is ridden straight up the ideology of the conservative wing. And I just want to remind you, when she keeps saying that she's Scalia's model, that she's his clone, that we got to remember who Scalia was. Scalia was the person who said that the Voting Rights Act is a racial entitlement. So let's never forget what's going on and what's at stake here, because if we're going to have a democracy, we must have a functioning Voting Rights Act. And we cannot have a court that is so hard right that it keeps destroying the voting rights of people of color.
All right, Barbara Arnwine, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, as you heard Barbara talking about that testimony, folks, here is some of today's hearing from Capitol Hill.
Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died on September the 18th. What can you say about Justice Ginsburg? She was confirmed 96-3. Now, those were days that have since passed. I regret that. 96-3. Now, this was a person who worked for the ACLU, someone who was known in progressive circles as an icon. Apparently, just about every Republican voted for her. In my view, the person appearing before this committee is in a category of excellence, something the country should be proud of, and she will have a chance to make her case to be a worthy successor and to become the 9th member of the Supreme Court of the United States. On September the 26th, Judge Amy Barrett was nominated by President Trump to the Supreme Court.
When the president offered me this nomination, I was deeply honored. But it was not a position I had sought out, and I thought carefully before accepting. The confirmation process and the work of serving on the court, if confirmed, requires sacrifices, particularly from my family. I chose to accept the nomination because I believe deeply in the rule of law and the place of the Supreme Court in our nation. I believe Americans of all backgrounds deserve an independent Supreme Court that interprets our Constitution and laws as they are written. And I believe I can serve my country by playing that role. I come before this committee with humility about the responsibility that I have been asked to undertake, and with appreciation for those who have come before me. When I was 21 years old and just beginning my career, Ruth Bader Ginsburg sat in this seat. She told the committee, "What has become of me could only happen in America." I have been nominated to fill Justice Ginsburg's seat, but no one will ever take her place. I will be forever grateful for the path she marked and the life she led. If confirmed, it would be the honor of a lifetime to serve alongside the Chief Justice and 7 Associate Justices. I admire them all and would consider each a valued colleague.
Senators who clearly set out that a precedent that the president in an election year should wait, that we should have an election, and that then the people choose the president and the president chooses the nominee. That was your precedent. It has been said that the wheels of justice turn slowly, and justice, on the other hand, can move at lightning speed, as we are seeing here today. We cannot, and you watching at home should not, separate this hearing from the moment we are in and from the judge he is trying to rush through. To respond to Senator Cruz, this isn't a rush to justice. This is a rush to put in a justice whose views are known and who will have a profound impact on your life. And yes, these policies that the court decides, they matter. Where you can go to school, who you can marry, decisions you can make about your own body, and yes, your health care. The president knows this.
If you were watching today's hearing, and some of the statements made by some of my colleagues, in fact, if you were to look at any of the countless posters put up in here, you'd think that this was a political discussion, a policy discussion, a legislative discussion. You, in fact, are not being reviewed for a legislative position or a policy-making position. You're being reviewed for a position on our nation's highest court, where you'll be asked from time to time to decide cases based on the law, based on the facts. This is not something that should result or properly should be considered by us as something that requires us to examine whether, to what extent, in what way you have compassion for any of the individuals depicted in these photos. I'm certain, just based on my limited interaction with you, that you have compassion for all people.
Senator Kamala Harris of California is also the Democratic VP nominee. She asked her questions, and she spoke remotely because she did not want to be in the room of the Senate Judiciary Committee, where 2 Republicans on the committee who were sitting in the room tested positive for coronavirus and refused to go into quarantine. Here's what she had to say.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This hearing has brought together more than 50 people to sit inside of a closed-door room for hours while our nation is facing a deadly airborne virus. This committee has ignored common sense requests to keep people safe, including not requiring testing for all members, despite a coronavirus outbreak among senators of this very committee. By contrast, in response to this recent Senate outbreak, the leaders of Senate Republicans rightly postponed business on the Senate floor this week to protect the health and safety of senators and staff. Mr. Chairman, for the same reasons, this hearing should have been postponed. The decision to hold this hearing now is reckless and places facilities workers, janitorial staff, and congressional aides and Capitol Police at risk. Not to mention that while tens of millions of Americans are struggling to pay their bills, the Senate should be prioritizing coronavirus relief and providing financial support to those families. The American people need to have help to make rent or their mortgage payment. We should provide financial assistance to those who have lost their job and help parents put food on the table. Small businesses need help, as do the cities, towns, and hospitals that this crisis has pushed to the brink. The House bill would help families and small businesses get through this crisis, but Senate Republicans have not lifted a finger for 150 days, which is how long that bill has been here in the Senate, to move the bill. Yet, this committee is determined to rush a Supreme Court confirmation hearing through in just 16 days. Senate Republicans have made it crystal clear that rushing a Supreme Court nomination is more important than helping and supporting the American people who are suffering from a deadly pandemic and a devastating economic crisis. Their priorities are not the American people's priorities. But for the moment, Senate Republicans hold the majority in the Senate and determine the schedule. So here we are. The Constitution of the United States entrusts the Senate with the solemn duty to carefully consider nominations for lifetime appointments to the United States Supreme Court. Yet the Senate majority is rushing this process and jamming President Trump's nominee through the Senate while people are actually voting, just 22 days before the end of the election. More than 9 million Americans have already voted, and millions more will vote while this illegitimate committee process is underway. A clear majority of Americans want whomever wins this election to fill this seat, and my Republican colleagues know that. Yet they are deliberately defying the will of the people in their attempt to roll back the rights and protections provided under the Affordable Care Act. And let's remember, in 2017, President Trump and congressional Republicans repeatedly tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. But remember, people from all walks of life spoke out and demanded Republicans stop trying to take away the American people's health care. Republicans finally realized that the Affordable Care Act is too popular to repeal in Congress. So now they are trying to bypass the will of the voters and have the Supreme Court do their dirty work. That's why President Trump promised to only nominate judges who will get rid of the Affordable Care Act. This administration, with the support of Senate Republicans, will be in front of the Supreme Court on November 10th to argue that the entire Affordable Care Act should be struck down. That's in 29 days that that'll happen. And that's a big reason why Senate Republicans are rushing this process. They are trying to get a justice onto the court in time to ensure they can strip away the protections of the Affordable Care Act. And if they succeed, it will result in millions of people losing access to health care at the worst possible time, in the middle of a pandemic. 23 million Americans could lose their health insurance altogether. If they succeed, they will eliminate protections for 135 million Americans with pre-existing conditions like diabetes and asthma, heart disease, or cancer. A list that now will include over 7 million Americans who have contracted COVID-19. Insurance companies could deny you coverage or could sell you a plan that won't pay a dime toward treating anything related to your pre-existing condition. If the Affordable Care Act is struck down, you will have to once again pay for things like mammograms and cancer screenings and birth control. Seniors will pay more for prescription drugs, and young adults will be kicked off of their parents' plans. And these are not abstract issues. We need to be clear about how overturning the Affordable Care Act will impact the people we all represent. For example, Micah, who is 11 years old, and she lives in Southern California. So Micah enjoys being a Girl Scout and ice skating and reading and eating pasta and baking. Her mother says the only reason Micah is able to live her life as she does now is because the Affordable Care Act guarantees that her health insurance cannot deny her coverage or limit her care because it's too expensive. You see, Micah has a congenital heart defect. She goes to multiple specialists throughout the year and gets an MRI with anesthesia every 6 months. At just 11 months old, Micah's family had already hit $50,000 in medical expenses, and her biannual MRI cost were $15,000 a session. And so, correction, by 11 months old, her family had hit $500,000 in medical expenses. If Republicans succeed in striking down the Affordable Care Act, insurance companies will be able to deny coverage for children with serious conditions, children like Micah. And parents, well, they'll be on their own. No one should face financial ruin to get their child or their spouse or their parent the care they need. And no family should be kept from seeing a doctor or getting treatment because an insurance company says that the treatment is too expensive. In America, access to health care should not be determined based on how much money you have. Health care and access to health care should be a right. Micah and millions of others who are protected by the Affordable Care Act know this is fundamentally what is at stake with this Supreme Court nomination.
All right, folks, let's go to our panel. Joining us today, Teresa Lundy, Principal Founder, TML Communications. Quentin Young, he is the host of Poppin' Politics podcast. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former Senior Advisor for Environmental Justice, EPA. Teresa, I'll start with you. It's real clear what Republicans are doing. They desperately want to fill this seat in order for them to have a 6-3 conservative majority on the Supreme Court. So let's not even play games with this. And what gets me are Republicans, they made a lot of hay since the vice presidential debate. Even over the weekend, all these media people focused on, the Democrats are trying to pack the court. No, packing the court is what the Republicans have been doing for the past several years, blocking Obama appointees and putting more than 218 federal judges on the bench since Trump was president. That's packing the court.
Yeah, I mean, also packing the court with individuals who don't look like you or myself, who are fully qualified and authorized to do the work of the people. But I think most of it, really comes from this expediency that I think the American people really need to be concerned about, especially listed, by Senator Kamala Harris, regarding some of the issues with COVID-19 and some of those pre-existing conditions. I'm sure we all know someone, that has those serious pre-existing conditions. And again, in 29 days, that decision will be made of how the Affordable Health Care Act would streamline some of these decisions and, possibly Roe versus Wade. So I think we really need to all be taking a serious look at what's going on in these Senate hearings, but also understanding that this process, Republicans are really thinking about the long-term game. And that long-term game is lying on the back of President Trump. And honestly, I just feel like they don't care if he loses or not, but they need to get their agenda across while he's in this position. And so that's essentially what we're seeing. We are seeing this, it was like rat race almost. How quickly can we stir the pot, and how quickly can we put those who shouldn't be in position without proper protocols and not. So, I'm hoping for something different. But again, this is the right-left agenda.
Mustafa, look, Republicans have the votes to actually get her confirmed on the court. But this is the thing that I keep saying. This is where Democrats have to play hardball. They keep trying to make Biden and Harris answer the question, will you pack the court? They shouldn't answer the question. We know they're going to vote. But again, Democrats had better be fully prepared when they get control to actually use power as ruthless as Republicans are doing it.
Right. They set the precedent. So now you're going to have to deal with the outcomes of what you have put in motion. You know, and Democrats have to continue to hit on, this is about health care, this is about climate, this is about voting, and of course all of this is tied back into COVID-19. And what's going on across the country is that people are actually paying attention to the courts now. We know folks just have not been as engaged on the courts as they should have been. We've talked about it on the show, from the Supreme Court all the way down, how incredibly important these positions are, because, they're interpreting, what the laws are. And whether you care, almost every issue that you care about is going to roll through the courts, and it will either be in a positive way of helping to improve what's going on in your life, or it's going to have significant impacts. It may shorten your life, or it may extract wealth from you. So folks have got to pay attention, and Democrats have got to continue to anchor this in the reality of what's going on in people's lives and these decisions that these judges are making.
Quentin, I'll go to you here again. Look, we're going to see this thing happen this week. We know exactly how this thing is going to end up unless something catastrophic happens. But Democrats must use this opportunity to really lay down the framework, pin her as aggressive as possible. And you know what? And I'm really sick of all this stuff. Keep talking about how she's a mom, how many kids she has. That has nothing to do with whether you're going to be a Supreme Court justice. Okay? My mama got 5 kids. All right? But that ain't got nothing to do with somebody being appointed to the Supreme Court.
I mean, they're trying to find some kind of way to humanize her, but to be honest, I mean, these are the political issues that people are concerned with. This is why people don't feel like they should vote, because there's kind of political corruption going on. They knew what they were doing the whole time. They had plans on doing this when Obama was in office. They've been waiting on Ruth Bader Ginsburg to pass on the whole time. They've been talking about putting their circuit court judges there because they know the cases aren't going to make it. They know that they've been packing the court. They know what they said before, but they had a whole intention to make sure that they could get this done. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg held on for as long as she can, but unfortunately she passed on, and they're going to close the deal. And it's unfortunate. And the thing about it is, it's really going to affect the American people, because a lot of people have pre-existing conditions. A lot of people will lose health care. Before Obamacare, I mean, health care was kind of a second thought, even kind of out of mind, like something that you just wouldn't have. And it just really bothers me how you have these elitist politicians making decisions on the lives of average people.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, the folks at Seek.com, black-owned company founded by Mary Spio. They, of course, a virtual reality company. You can check out their content at Seek.com, CEEK.com. You can do so, of course, with these VR headsets. You can look at it, of course, on your regular device or your pad or your computer. But if you want to experience being in the room, you can use this headset right here. All you simply do is just pop in your cell phone in here, pop it on, and then put this headset on, and you can literally experience their content in virtual reality. And so allows for you to do a 360-degree view of the room. But also, folks, they have the 360-degree 4D headphones right here. These are Bluetooth headphones. They have complete surround sound in terms of as you hear the particular music. Gamers love them as well when they're playing their games. And so it's just phenomenal bass in these headphones as well. You can get one or both devices at Seek.com using this promo code RMV VIP 2020 RMVIP 2020. So we certainly thank the folks at Seek.com for being a partner with us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. All right.